happy people are interested in creating happiness, and unhappy people sometimes want to make you feel bad. Praise grows your self-esteem, and criticism can wither it. If you want to identify a narcissist, you need to look out for the traits. A narcissist will never say, oh, today I messed up, today you can't believe what I got wrong, or this terrible thing happened, it wasn't my fault. It's never their fault. It's never their fault. They're huge blamers. They'll blame everybody for how they feel. And all you can ever do is not let it in. Now, the only advice I ever give people living with a narcissist is leave. Leave as fast as you possibly can. If you're married to a narcissist, leave. You might go, I can't leave. I've got a mortgage. I've got 3 small children. I understand that. You have to somehow try to leave emotionally. I'll come back to that in a minute. If you're an adult with narcissistic parents, see them as little as you can. Of course, see them. But when you go to see them, focus on the outcome. Why am I visiting my mother today? I'm visiting her because I feel a duty, and understand that she's going to make you wrong. When you say to a narcissist, hey, Mum, I got promoted, they go, I can't imagine why. Why would they give you that job? You're not up to that. When you say, I found a great person, they go, oh, he's probably going to leave you. Nobody will stay with you. And you have to be able to not swallow it, but just let it go over your head. I worked with a client many years ago, a lovely man whose mother was a narcissist with a capital N. And I said, look, this is not about you. It's about your mother. She believes she's perfect and amazing. And she believes that you should be perfect and amazing, because a narcissist needs their children to be perfect. Go, hey, look at me. I'm great. And look at these brilliant, genius, gorgeous children. And if you are not perfect, it's like, oh, I need to make you shape up. So she's always going to diminish you, because it makes her feel better. And so I explained to him how to deal with that. Don't let it in. Don't take it personally. And he said, you know, I'm so glad I had that conversation with you, because a couple of weeks later I went to see my mother. When I was leaving, she looked at me and she said, I hope you get cancer and die, which is pretty hardcore, even for a narcissist. He went, oh, Mum, I'm not even going to let that in. I know you don't believe it. And in fact, I had a narcissist client writing to me, and I decided to just put the letter straight in the bin. I didn't even open them. I knew what they'd say. You were wrong. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. I just decided to not open those letters. And later they called me and said, you know, I sent you some horrible letters. I said, don't worry. I didn't open them. I knew what you would say, and I decided it was best for both of us that I didn't read them. And it's always better when you get nasty emails, nasty messages. Don't let them in. Just say, oh, this person is in pain. Because after all, who wakes up and says, how can I diminish someone today? If you are having a good life, would you wake up and go, my life is so great. Who can I diminish? Who can I hurt? Who can I knock off their perch? Who can I put down? Happy people don't want to do that. In fact, happy people are interested in creating happiness, and unhappy people sometimes want to make you feel bad. Praise grows your self-esteem, and criticism can wither it. So if the person in your life is a massive critic, criticizes you all the time, you must remember the truth. They can say whatever they want, but you get to choose whether to let that in or not. So I also believe a problem can only hurt you if it's what I call triple P, PPP. And what does PPP mean? Well, is this problem permanent? Is it all pervasive, meaning does it go on all the time? And is it personal? Let's imagine you've got a really narcissistic boss. Well, that isn't permanent. It may feel it, but one day you will leave. You won't be in that job forever, so it's not permanent. It's not even all pervasive. When you're having dinner, having sex with your partner, engrossed in a movie, having a long bubble bath, that narcissistic boss is not there diminishing you. And guess what? It's not even personal, because they do it to everybody. There's really few people narcissists don't go for. So when you have a narcissistic boss, you must remember this is not permanent, one day I will leave. It doesn't go on 24 hours a day. It's not going on at the weekend. And it's not even personal. They do it with everyone. Now, if you have a narcissistic partner, it's somewhat different. What's different is that maybe you can't leave, and it does feel permanent, and it does feel all pervasive, and it certainly feels personal, but you also need to make a decision. This is not going to last forever. When my children are older, when we sorted out the finances, I'm going to leave this relationship, you know? We can cope with anything when it has an ending, even pain. I've had surgery without anesthetic and used hypnosis. One of the things I do is say, tell me how long. I go, this is going to go on for 10 minutes. Oh, okay. I can do 10 minutes. I've had a lot of dental work done with no anesthesia, and I can do it only if I notice. If they said this is going to go on for hours, I'm like, no, I need some painkillers now. So you can cope with anything when it has an ending. The problem is when we say things like, this is never going to end, this is awful, I'm sinking, drowning, dying in this hideous relationship. So if you are stuck with a partner and finances and childcare mean it's hard to leave, you need to still decide to look at when you will leave. Of course, even when you leave a narcissistic partner and there are children involved, they will always be there and they will still be narcissistic, but you just have to not let it in. Usually they move on and find another partner very quickly, and they tend to leave you alone. But focus on the fact that it will end, it will pass, it won't be like that forever. And don't say things like, this is never going to end, this person is driving me crazy, they're the bane of my life. I work with many people who talk to me about their narcissistic partner affecting the children, ruining their life. And I have to say, look, I know this is horrible. I'm not going to lessen where you are, but you must not give them the power. If you have a narcissistic partner with no children, get out, leave. There really is no point in staying with a narcissist. They won't get better, they won't change, they will demand and expect you to change, and when you do, they will never, ever, ever be satisfied. Really, do yourself a favor, move on. There are so many other people in the world for you, and if you have narcissistic parents, visit them, speak to them, take a phone call. And I used to speak to someone who was like that, and I'd take the phone, I knew when they were going to call, and I'd have a magazine, and I'd go, yeah, oh, I hate that view, oh, that's just awful. I didn't even have a conversation, I just read, look at something on the screen, and just make all the right sounds. Oh, that's so awful, oh, that's so sad. Oh, poor you, always being let down. I hate that for you, because narcissists don't want advice. After all, they know everything about everything. My dad used to say there are two types of people in the world, those who know everything about nothing and those who know nothing about everything. And actually narcissists, suppose they know everything about nothing, nothing about everything. So you must decide that you can't change them. But you can change you. They are always going to do what they've done. And you have to do something differently. When you decide, and it is a decision. Decision is a Latin word that means to cut off from. When you decide to not let in destructive criticism, it will change your life. Narcissists are actually incredibly difficult to deal with because their belief is there's nothing wrong with them and everything is wrong with everybody else. And in fact, I train amazing therapists all over the world, and the few people we don't treat very much, are narcissists. So if you are living with a covert narcissist, here's your life. Everything is your fault, everything is wrong with you. Nothing you're going to do will ever make your narcissistic partner or parent get better, because there's nothing wrong with them. And everything is wrong with you, and everything is wrong with people. Remember, a narcissist fell in love with his own reflection, what he liked about himself. Of course, you can be a female narcissist. So if you are living with a covert narcissist, you're married to one, you're dating one, you've married into a family where your mother-in-law, father-in-law, your parent is one, Do not try to change yourself to make them better. And don't try to change them. Don't ever go, hey, Mom, you know what you were complaining about? Well, I found something that will help you, because they don't need help. And if you put all the effort, okay, I seem to really antagonize my mom when I do this or that. Why don't I change my behavior? It's a complete waste of your time. Narcissists are very unhappy, but they never look at themselves. Oddly enough, because narcissists fell in love with his reflection, that sounds very odd. Narcissists do not ever look at their own behavior. They don't question it. They'll say, everyone else is wrong, I'm always right. I met one and she said to me, you know what? The problem is I'm never wrong. I'm always right. Everyone else is wrong. And that's hard work. So I'd love to say, I've got in my pocket a little bit of advice I can give you to make your life better. Well, actually I have. Stop trying to change yourself. You will never make them better by changing you. Keep doing what you've always done. Live your life. Understand that person is in deep pain and it's not your fault and you can't make their pain better. When someone comes to me and goes, here's my pain, could you make it better? I go, yeah, but you have to participate in your recovery. If an alcoholic comes to me and goes, hey, Marisa, could you take away my alcoholism? Yes. If you join me, you've got to do things as well. I can help people recover from almost anything if they participate in the recovery. Not long ago, a son sent me his narcissistic mother and said, she's driving me crazy, please do something. And as I began to work, she said to me, I shan't listen to any recording you make me. I said, because I shan't listen to it. I don't listen to anything, And then she said, nobody can ever help me. And I said, you sound really proud of that. She goes, I am. I'm very proud. People like you can't help me. And I felt immensely sorry for her son. But when I said again, you're so proud of the fact that nobody can help you, it did make her stop and think. And I just had to go back to him and go, look, I can only help you. Don't let it in. And shortly after I told him about his mother and said, you must not let in what she says, he called me and said, you know what, my mother really surpassed herself. I went to visit her, and as I left, she said to me, I hope you get cancer and die, and then you'll know what it's like to be in the kind of pain I'm in. He said, I looked and went, Mum, even for you, that's a bit hardcore, don't you think? He said, I'm not going to let that in. And he said, I went away, and I thought, wow, I would have been on the floor with pain and sadness that my mother said that, and I remembered, well, it's not about me. I don't have to let it in. Do you know that not letting in other people's criticism can change your entire life like that? Because you have a choice. You have a choice when living with anyone that's critical or difficult or withholding to not let it in. One of my clients said recently, I asked my narcissistic parent, are you proud of me? And they went, for what? What have you ever done that could make me proud of you? You haven't even suffered enough to understand how I feel. And now they have a choice. Shall I go away and go, wow, I'm so hurt? I asked my parent, are you proud of me? And I'm working every day to make them proud, buying them stuff, giving them stuff, doing stuff, being a straight A kid and now a straight A adult. And they went, am I proud of you? For what? But you have a choice. Don't let it in. So my best advice for anyone living with a covert narcissist is don't let in their criticism. If you're dating one, here's better advice. Get out. Leave. Do not marry a narcissist. Never let a narcissist parent your children, because they will always be wrong. And when people kill themselves, you know what they say when they leave a note? Somebody made them wrong. If you are always right, what do you think the other person is? Of course, they are always wrong. And by the way, if this is ringing bells with you, please like it, please share it. Many people come to me and say, wow, I went home and I did what you said. I Googled narcissistic personality disorder. And then they suddenly have an aha moment. That's my mom. That's my dad. That's my brother. That's who they are. And I don't have to change them. I have to change me. You see, when you have a great mind, and I promise you have a great mind, you do have a choice Here's your choice. Rationalize why I feel so bad with this difficult covert narcissism, or talk myself out of feeling bad. It's their issue. It doesn't have to be my issue. And I want to tell you something else that's really important. One of the things that is a major cause of depression is harsh, hurtful, critical words that you hear about yourself on a daily basis. When you say harsh, hurtful, critical words to yourself, that will cause depression. When a parent says it, it's very likely to make you feel depressed unless you choose to not let it in. So remember the man whose mother said, I hope you get cancer and die. Remember the mother who said to her kid, you haven't suffered enough to be successful. You have to suffer like me to even understand me. And each of those people had a choice. Shall I let those words destroy me, or shall I choose to not let it in? So let me recap very quickly. You cannot change a narcissist. You can't earn their love. You can't buy their love. You can't work for their love. You can't earn their respect. You can't buy it. You can't chase it, because they are withholders. Everybody is wrong in the whole world except for them. And a narcissist's job is to make you wrong so they can be right. And they like that job, and they very rarely retire. Occasionally, narcissists, when they lose their looks, get a little bit better, a little bit easier, a little bit softer, but not always. Do not try to change them. Change yourself. If they happen to be your parents and you have this duty to be around them less. But if you're dating one, leave. If you're about to marry one, reconsider. If you're thinking of bringing a child into the world with a narcissist, don't do it. There's enough people you can find love with. Narcissists are hard work, they're difficult. I have the best therapy method in the world. We have won so many awards, and even I very rarely treat narcissists. I did recently work with 4 children of a narcissist. She had systematically damaged each of those kids. I made them so much better. She was absolutely furious, and she banned her husband from bringing them to see me. One of them was bulimic, one of them was anorexic, because she'd say, well, why aren't you beautiful like me? Look at me, how have I had these fat, ugly children? I don't understand. Why aren't you smart like me? And I worked so hard to make those kids feel better, and it made her so annoyed she stopped them coming. And I don't even work with narcissists. I did it because her husband begged me to. But I knew that she would step in and stop it, because she couldn't bear me helping them, because the only person who could help them was her. And she was never going to help them because everything was wrong with them. She was a perfect parent. They were just ungrateful kids. So you get the picture. If you're living with one and you can leave, leave. As humans, we need to be heard. We need so much to feel heard, and we need people to be present with us. And when you go to your mother, your father, your boss, your partner, and say, I feel so sad, they go, what have you got to feel sad about? Just put on a happy face, turn that frown upside down. We don't feel heard. And I really believe in being positive, but occasionally I also understand sometimes we need to feel grief. We need to express sadness. We need to say, I'm having a really bad day today. I just feel terrible. You know, yesterday my little cat was attacked by 2 dogs, and it was horrible. And for the whole night I kept saying to my husband, I keep seeing her little face. I feel so bad that I didn't get her in sooner. It was just becoming dusk and I should have pulled her in, and I wish I'd done this and that. And he didn't go, oh, never mind, let's be positive. There are lots more cats that you can find, because I needed to express that grief. Many, many years ago, my daughter and I were feeding ducks. And my daughter, I don't know how this happened to this day, because we're behind a fence, but she somehow fell in the water. And I took off my shoes and jumped in and got her out and took her home to my mother. We were visiting her. And my daughter kept saying, Mummy, I thought those ducks were coming to eat me. Mummy, why did you take off your shoes before you jumped in the water? Were you worried about your shoes getting wet? I said, oh no, darling. My shoes were too heavy. I needed to get you as fast as I can. And my mum started to go, don't talk about it anymore. Stop talking about it. I said, no, Mum. She clearly needs to express this. She needs to tell me that she thought I cared about my shoes more than her. She needed me to express everything to her. And if I did the toxic positive, it's all good, let's never mention it, everything is great, everything is fine, I would have never understood that I had to validate my daughter's fears. And occasionally when something happens that's awful, we need people to say, you know, I thought I was going to die, I thought I was going to get sick. Hey, I've got a lump, I think I might have cancer. No, don't worry about that, you don't have cancer. And even if you did, you can meditate and wave crystals around and do all this stuff. You see, when someone is ill, when someone has cancer, they need you to say, what can I do? One of my friends said that the thing that annoyed him the most is whenever he told someone he had cancer, they go, oh, you'll be fine. And you go, how do you know? And he got very defensive. How do you know? How can you possibly say that? So when someone tells you, I'm worried about being ill, I'm worried about my partner, I'm worried about my kid, don't go, it'll all be fine, don't worry, or even worse, I know how you feel. I had a client whose son was run over, and she said, you know what drives me crazy? People go, I know how you feel. And I want to go, really? Has your son been run over? No. Then how could you ever know how they would feel? And as a therapist, people come into me and say, you know, my last therapist, they would say things like, you'll be fine, it's okay, I know how you feel. And people come to me and say, my child died. I tell them the truth, you know what? Your life will never be quite the same again. You will have moments of joy. This grief will pass, but it will always be different. It will be happy at times, and you'll still have pleasure, but it won't be the same. And I never ever say, I know how you feel, because I don't know how it feels. I never want to know how that feels. So the toxic positivity is not listening to someone's grief, not hearing someone's pain, not saying, gosh, that sounds awful. What can I do? Can I be an ear? Can I help you in any way? I feel so helpless. My husband yesterday said, I feel so helpless about our little cat. And I said, no, you're doing great because you understand and you've cancelled your day just to take her to the vet, and you understand how I feel. And I loved that for him, because he loved me enough to recognize my worry and to, so he never said, well, let's go and get another one. There are cats all over LA that we can find another one. If someone comes and says, my dog's just been run over, you wouldn't go, well, get another one. So the toxic positivity is not tuning into someone's need to talk. And remember what people need. They need to be heard, and they need you to be present with them. When someone comes to you as a boss, as a parent, as a partner and says, I feel worried, I feel sad, I feel terrible. When someone says, I feel really unattractive, don't go, oh, you look great. When someone says, I have postnatal depression, don't go, you've just got a baby. What have you got to be depressed about? That's like saying to somebody, what have you got to be diabetic about? You see, here's the thing about your feelings, and it's such a wonderful saying. You must feel your feelings until they no longer require to be felt. You can't Netflix your feelings. You can't eat your feelings. You can't drink them. You can't medicate them. You can't shop them. You can try, but when you try to eat your feelings, they just regroup and come back stronger and stronger until you take a minute and say, you know what, today I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling bereft. I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling so bad. I'm feeling bad because I didn't get my cat in at dusk, which I always do. They were having such fun. I left them out there for a few minutes too long, and one of them nearly got killed, and I feel bad and I feel guilty, but that feeling will make sure I never, ever, ever do that again. So that feeling has taught me a valuable lesson. If my husband said, oh, don't feel guilty, oh, that's silly, but he didn't. He listened, and actually he agreed with me, but not in a bad way. So first of all, you must feel your own feelings until they no longer require to be felt. And then you must hear someone else's. When someone says, I feel so broken-hearted, my partner left, go, well, he was rubbish. You're so much better off with him. You'll find someone else, plenty more fish in the sea. That is toxic positivity. You're trying to help, of course, by saying, no, you'll find someone else. They were no good. I never liked him. Anyway, guess what? They weren't even nice about you. No, you say, let me hear you out. How awful. You feel abandoned. You feel left. You feel replaced. That's terrible. But remember something. You know, everything that person loved in you when they packed their bags and left, guess what? They didn't take it with them. It's still there. And you need to go through feeling bereft, feeling sad, feeling lonely, and then eventually you'll find someone better. But first you have to feel the feeling. You know, one of my clients, when she told someone her child had died, they said, well, lucky you've got 4 others. It must hurt less. She said, what? It doesn't hurt less. It's terrible. I've lost my child. When someone said I had a miscarriage, they go, well, you never really got to know that baby. It wasn't really a person. You know, it was only the size of a tangerine. That is toxic positive. You can have another one. Many years ago, my lovely father and I were having a conversation. He said to me, I never ever worry about you. I know you'll be great. And I said, but I want you to worry about me. That doesn't feel great that you never worry about me. I didn't really hear what he was saying. I heard, oh, I don't worry about you. And I wanted him to worry about me. When I speak to my daughter on the phone, I say, you sound a little sad today. She goes, Mum, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. But, you know, my job is to worry about you. You don't have to tell me anything. But, you know, I'm always here for you. And I'll always worry about you because you're my beautiful child. It's my job to worry about you. I know how I felt when my dad said, I never worry about you. And I decided I would never do that to my children. So I do the opposite, not excessively. And when people come to you with issues that you think are silly and trivial and pointless, toxic positivity, to disregard them and to try and make it positive, you must listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth because we're supposed to listen more and speak less. And you can be a positive person, really positive, but don't be toxic positive. Don't not tune in to what other people that matter to you are feeling. Listen, be open, remember that people want to be heard. You know what else they want to feel? Significant. They want to feel they matter. And if you don't listen to people's worries, they're going to feel they don't matter to you. And if they matter to you, then what they feel also matters. You know, my mother, her entire life would ring me up and go, I've got another illness, I've got this wrong and that wrong. And my mother was lovely but a hypochondriac. And the first thing I did was go, hey Mum, I'm here to about a headache. I know this great person. Can I send you that? I've heard of this great treatment for your allergies. But I realized that as I got her something to fix an allergy, she just got something else. You know what my mother needed me to do? She needed me to go, oh, I hate that for you. That's awful. You just got rid of one illness and now you got another one. And I learned to do what I call the voice, because that's what my mother wanted. She didn't want me to fix her. She didn't want me to recommend a doctor, pay for a doctor, pay for drugs, no. She just wanted to be heard. And my life was improved when I said, oh, that's terrible, another illness, poor you. It must feel awful to always be ill and have to take so many pills, because that's what she wanted to hear. And I gave her what she wanted, which was not positivity. One day, my daughter called me and said, Mummy, you got a headache. And I said, okay, well, we have some lavender oil. She goes, Mummy, I just want to take medicine like all my friends. I don't want lavender oil or peppermint oil or homeopathic or hypnosis. I just want Calpol, like all my friends. So I gave her some. That's what she wanted. I listened to her. She felt less important. All her friends got this pink syrupy medicine. She got lavender oil on the forehead, which worked, but she didn't want it. I gave her a tiny bit of medicine because she wanted it. If someone says, I want you to come with me to the doctor, hold my hand, I want you to call me after and say, hey, what happened? Are you okay? Give them what they want. I go, I know you'll be fine, and by the way, you can meditate. And I don't even believe in illness, and I believe in never discussing it. That's what you want. But it isn't always what other people want. We want to be heard. We want to feel significant. We need to know that we are enough for you to listen to us, allow us to vent, or share our worries without you running around fixing them or shutting us down, going, well, let's not mention it, let's not discuss it, it's never going to happen, it's all for the best. Recently I heard someone in the back of a car say to someone else, you know, you're bringing this all on yourself. And they were so upset, and I had to intervene and say, look, even if you believe that to be true, it's not a very kind thing to say. This person was talking about how every person let them down, and the other person said, well, you must be creating that, it's your fault. You know it, you can manifest that or not, and that was toxic positivity. The better way is to say, I'm so sorry this is happening, it must feel terrible, it must be awful. How sad to always be let down, and then later say, you know, I wonder if there's something you might be doing that you don't know you're doing that's contributing to always be letting down. It's awful to be let down. It's not your fault, but perhaps we could have a look at something that may be going on here. That's kinder, and that's kind positivity, not toxic positivity. So if you think one of your friends, colleague, family members is a hypochondriac or an excessive worrier, don't say, you know, all of this can be fixed easily with positive thinking. First go into with them, where's this coming from? How is it serving them? And then at the end you can suggest, you know, positive thinking could help you with this. Could I help you to just change a few of your thoughts, because it may help with the hypochondria or the illness or the worry or the anxiety, but do it with kindness. Someone else's world is not your world. You can have your world of being super positive. That's my world, by the way. But I see people every day with issues, and I never go, oh, hey, let's just be super positive, because that annoys them, it upsets them. They don't feel heard. I listen, I hear them, I acknowledge them, and then I gently introduce them to something by saying, do you notice you always say, I always get headaches. I could do this, but that never works. Nothing ever works for me. I look at why they're saying that, and I help them, but I do it with kindness, niceness, warmth, and empathy. I don't ever try to be superior, and I don't ever go, you're doing this all wrong, you know, here's the right way. Because if it's right for me, that doesn't mean it's right for them. Check out my next video here. You can't die from rejection. It just feels like you can, but you can't. And no one can reject you unless you give them permission. They can say mean things, horrible things, but you can choose not to let it in.